Ladies and gentlemen, what it's time to be alive. If this has been like 1,000 years ago, people would be wondering what the hell was going wrong with the king. They would think he's nuts. And this actually comes after the king has inaugurated, well, an Islamic center in Oxford. Yeah, an Islamic center in Oxford.
Adequate. I'm comfortable.
So glad. I hope they're looking after.
Which actually became very weird to many individuals who noticed that he was praising the Islamic faith and urging citizens to deepen their understanding of the Islamic world.
Assalamu alaikum. In this milestone anniversary year, I can only say that it is with enormous pride and admiration that I join you all here today to pay tribute to this remarkable centre as it celebrates 4 decades of unfailing work to broaden our understanding of the Islamic world and in the United Kingdom.
Very odd for the leader of the Church of England, but anyway. Critics have called this entire move as being tone-deaf, this after Islamic identity politics are fueling anti-Semitism and extremism in Britain, and we're going to talk about that. Now, the symbolic move sparked outrage, with one user noting, "Imagine telling the Crusaders their king's heir would one day celebrate Islam in Oxford." And the move contrasts sharply with Britain's silence on ongoing rising anti-Semitic or anti-Jewish hate and mass illegal migration and cultural tensions. Because you see, the problem is that anti-Jewish hatred is on the rise in the UK. But many individuals are not noticing why it's on the rise in the UK. And that's very easy to understand. And that's because you're having mass movement, mass migration of individuals to the UK that aren't known to be very friendly towards Jewish people. And so when those numbers compound, and they are compounding fast, it should be no wonder that the anti-Semitism continues to rise. It should be a symptom of the very issue that you're seeing constantly occurring. Now, according to Labour, their answer to all of this is to create an Islamophobia definition. I mean, why? You can see the hatred being spewed out against others, and so what we do is we protect Islam. This is after Angela Rayner proposed a legally binding definition of Islamophobia across public institutions. Now, a poll shows this could cost, if they did this, that is, Labour up to 1 million votes, and Reform UK could get 100 extra seats, which would secure them a majority. This is because people don't want to see these things. Now, you see, the problem is, the reason it's problematic is because this definition, if you want to include it, or call it that, risks criminalizing criticism of the grooming gangs. It curbs free speech on legitimate public concerns. A 2019 report called Discussing Grooming Gangs Anti-Muslim Racism. It's also referenced by Rayner's panel itself, so they know full well what they're doing. And so this idea of this legally binding definition of Islamophobia, which you would then be committing a hate speech if you said, is, well, basically because they don't want to discuss what's actually going on with mass migration, specifically mass migration from Islamic countries. Now, the panel that proposed this entire thing actually operated in secret, and it's important to recognize that this actually included a Tory individual. So it wasn't just like a Labour thing. Now, the public has had no say in the process, and inevitably they never seem to do anymore. For all its suggestions of its love and democracy in the UK, there is none. Everything's done by elites or kleptocrats in the background, and the rest of everybody else just has to, I don't know, go along with it somehow. And this has led many individuals to suggest that Labour itself is actually, well, alienating the worker class voter. This is the very worker class voter that Labour was set up to supposedly protect. In fact, what's actually been happened is that Labour's deserting their voter base over immigration, crime, and political correctness, because inevitably that's where they feel their future is, in the imported, illegal mass migration. Very weird. In any case, this whole idea of Islamophobia, this weaponization of it, you can see it ripping through everything now in the United Kingdom. You can see the results of this mass migration. How do you see it? Well, you can see it in the pro-Palestinian activism, which is surging through British culture and media, and often veiled in anti-Semitic tropes. To give you an example, a performer, Daniel Perry, a queer artist, I don't understand how, because that individual would probably not have a very good time in Palestine, just saying. He unfurled a Palestinian flag on the stage at the Royal Opera House at the weekend, an opera house which, to be frank, just supposedly is, well, non-political. So why was he doing it? Now, this individual, just to show you exactly what type of individuals we constantly keep seeing in the UK, with all of these things, all these progressive types, if you will, they all of the same ilk. Now, this individual attended a £48,000 a year elite school. He previously wore a Free Palestine tank top to a performance about Nazi Germany's persecution of Jews, and he urged fellow artists to boycott Coca-Cola for its links to Israel and to attend protests even before coming through and performing on stage. So yes, a 44k a year elite school activist is somehow this posh British prick who's going around lecturing everybody else. But we see this a lot. We see it in all of the Just Stop Oil activists, all super posh like pricks. We see it in many of the so-called pro-refugees welcome people here, all super posh pricks.
Our government is arming a genocide. It is UK-made weapons that are being used to destroy homes, to destroy hospitals, to destroy schools. And now our government is not only arming a genocide, they are using terrorism laws to silence people who speak out.
Maybe I'm going mad.
We do not comply to law.
And this has led many individuals to ask, like, what the freak is going on with these freaking elites? These guys are nut jobs. Not to be outdone in controversies, the Channel 4 aired a Gaza documentary called Doctors Under Attack, and it was co-produced by an individual named Osama al-Ashi, who praised Palestinian terrorists as martyrs, including one who killed 7 Jews on Holocaust Memorial Day. A martyr, what a good guy. He also included shared celebratory footage of the October 7th Hamas attacks, including paragliders invading Israel and rockets. Now, the BBC, I'm surprised as you are, the BBC dropped this film for bias, but Channel 4 was like, nah, it'll be fine, and so they aired it and claimed rigorous fact-checking, even though there was no fact-checking. And this has led media watchdogs and former BBC executives to slam Channel 4 for enabling a pro-terror narrative under the guise of journalism. And you may ask yourself yet again, why the freak would they do that? Well, if you actually see these editorial teams are, again, all being very captured by individuals as a result of mass migration. It's a constant thing now, you see. Now, just to show you how insidious this is all getting, over the weekend, there was a pro-Palestinian protest which turned pretty anti-Semitic. And during that protest, which was all part of Palestine Action, a group that's now being banned, over 100 arrests were made. This is after protesters were marching through London chanting, "If your Jewish state." Yep, that's exactly what they said. Now, counter-protesters holding signs like "There is no genocide," "There are still 50 hostages captive, can we release those?" Well, they were all met with abuse. And they were all told by the police to vacate the area because, we wouldn't want any forms of violence. Now, in fairness to the Met, the police did actually warn that support to Palestinian action did constitute an offence underneath the Terrorism Act. And there were many individuals arrested underneath anti-terror laws for waving signs of support. But in typical fashion, you see, it doesn't end there. Because you see, critics say that the protest normalized anti-Semitism on British streets. Well, that's kind of true. It's exactly what it did. And we're seeing this more and more and more often in the United Kingdom. And this is showing a deep-rooted hatred of the British state, masquerading as concern for Palestinian rights. Now, why would the British have a deep-seated hatred of the Jewish state? It actually doesn't impact them. Oh, wait, it's not the British that have the concern, is it? It's potentially the mass amounts of imported individuals who have different cultural beliefs to that of the standard British person. And again, how do we know that? Well, according to another article that came out last week, a 12-year-old Courtney Wright was removed from class for wearing a Union Jack dress on Culture Day, because apparently the staff at her school told her only other cultures were allowed to celebrate, and the school shut down early due to extremist threats after the public heard about it and told the school that they were full of crap and that they shouldn't have done this. So the backlash and the threats were issued against staff, threats of like, how dare you do that to my kid? Because we all know that threats these days are saying anything that you don't approve of. Well, that, according to the school, was extremist behavior. Now, the PM's office and public figures slammed the school's actions, highlighting the erosion of British pride and double standards. But the individual, the actual kid, was barred from giving a speech in her own school about traditional values, including tea, football, and weather, because refugees are welcome and immigrants have more rights now than the local British people. This is what's leading to this dangerous cultural shift, this anti-Israeli activism, this rise in anti-Semitism. It should be obvious, and the media is enabling all these terrorist sympathizers to flourish. And to be honest, many of the public institutions are failing the public in the UK, and none of them are actually having any form of accountability. Many of them are doing meetings behind closed doors. They're agreeing certain things behind closed doors. You've got the king supporting this in full view of everybody. And so that leads me personally to think that the UK is cooked, man. It's just absolutely cooked. But that's just my views. Do let me know what you think in the comment section below. Until next time, bye.